The second part of the show today that I'm devoted to the issue of the unhoused in America, the homeless on the streets. And the five major problems are in New York City. They have the most homeless of anywhere in the United States. L.A., Seattle, San Diego, and then San Jose, Santa Clara, and Santa Clara County. But let's face it, every major city that I've ever lived in, Denver, Washington, D.C., they all have immense homeless problems. What do you do about it? Well, there's a federal court holding a day-long hearing, which I'm going to go to today. I'm interested in this, and I have never seen a judge request briefs for the outer limit of their equitable authority to deal with this issue as a result of civil rights litigation brought. So you could see some amazing lightning bolts issue from federal court here. That will be being briefed. Mayor Garcetti, the Los Angeles wonder kid, got up yesterday. He brought the Olympics to LA in 2028, but he cannot do anything significant about the 66,000 people living in tents on the street, and sometimes not tents. Over the weekend when the deluge came, there were people floating away under awnings, septuagenarian grandmothers, naked bipolar people. It was just the craziest weekend in LA. And the federal judge saw this and he said, okay, everybody in court on Thursday. Mayor Garcetti says that, remember, there's 66,000 people in LA City and County who live rough, as they say in England, without housing. Here's what he said.
Second, in terms of Judge Carter, I had a great meeting with Judge Carter yesterday, face-to-face. When I did see that order, I am unable to come tomorrow and let him know that, but I said, let's just sit down, the two of us. And I love Judge Carter. I think he's fond of me. I'll let him say it. He said it many times. And I'm very proud of the progress that we have made, not only to meet the 6,700 additional units and housing solutions we said, but to surpass that already, where we have over 8,000 identified, over half of them done just a few months into the 18 months we have to do that. This is immensely hard work. But when you look at, there isn't hardly a week goes by with not one or two either groundbreakings or openings of new permanent housing, of new shelters that are opening, of tiny home villages like the one that I went to in Council Member Krikorian's district in CD2, where there was a previous encampment. There's now wonderful tiny homes right along close to the intersection of where the red line and the orange line meet. There is distinct progress. And like the judge, I share that same sense of urgency. We have to keep adding that, which is why I talked about the urgency of moving forward with Project Roomkey, the 100% reimbursement from FEMA, et cetera. None of us can be satisfied. And in terms of responsibility, it's not news to you or to anyone else. Even though I'm really one of many actors, 3 or 4 years ago, I said, I take full responsibility for the response, and I hope that we all do. Your last point was they're threatening to take over. The court doesn't have the jurisdiction to do that at this point. In fact, the case hasn't even begun. This is about the negotiations we can have. Had a wonderful talk with the judge, and I hope that the city will be able to come to a global settlement with the plaintiffs that are bringing this lawsuit, because I think we share the same things, get more people off the streets even more quickly. There's no city in America doing more, but I share the same perspective as an Angelino, as most Angelinos. Then why do we still have so many tents? We've got to keep doubling down on those solutions and that sense of urgency.
Okay, let me begin. There are 66,000. By everyone's agreement, they did not do a homeless count this year. That's up 16%, maybe 14% over last year. And it's growing every day. There's 66,000 in LA County, and this is the same problem everywhere by proportion. Mayor Garcetti said, oh, look, we've got 8,000 units planned within 18 months. 8,000 people are going to be taken care of the 66,000. We've got half of those almost done. Half. That means 4,000. By the way, look at this tiny village we got done over here. He called that distinct progress. Only on a liberal's scale is that distinct progress. And then he said, the judge doesn't have the authority to take over. Yes, the judge does. I'm not sure that he's going to, but he does have the authority and equity to do whatever is necessary to stop ongoing violations of constitutional rights. Nothing was said about the property owners, by the way, whose livelihoods are being destroyed by encampments in front of their businesses and their apartments. Nothing is being said about the access to justice issues posed by this or the disability issues. What do you do? All right, so I don't want to be one of those people that just say, what do you no, there's stuff to do. His name is Rick Caruso. And I don't know Rick Caruso. I've never met Rick Caruso. He is the most successful developer in Southern California. Now, he has a downside. He went to USC, and he's chairman of the board of USC, and I believe it's a degree-granting institution, though I'm not sure. I think he ought to get trumpets for their band to start with, but at least Urban Meyer didn't go to USC. So Rick Caruso is chairman of the board of USC, but he's also a good lawyer. Went to Pepperdine. Now, that is a fine law school. And Rick Caruso is a public-spirited guy, and he does everything for the city. And he knows building. So Congress is about to pass a $2 trillion or so package. Take 10%. No, take 5% of that. 10% of $2 trillion is $200 billion. 5% is $100 billion. And create the housing trust and put Rick Caruso in charge of it. And say, Rick, you're in charge of this. You pick one person in every city. And you give the proportionate amount of money to every city with a significant homeless problem, and you tell them to buy and endow the operation of units that are on the market already or hotels that are on the market already, and you endow the operation of those places, and you give the control of the endowment to groups, whether secular or faith-based, that are not the government, and you tell them to take care of those people as best they can. Boom. In a year, you will cut the problem in half or greater. All you have to do is let private sector people who know housing arm them with the ability to buy units and endow their upkeep and the services those people need. And some people are not serviceable. The good must not be the enemy. The best must not be the enemy of the good. And you take care of those who can be taken care of. You shelter those who want shelter. You care for those who will accept care. And you go to the Salvation Army, which operates everywhere in the United States. And you go to Union Rescue. And you go to the Alliance for Human Rights. It doesn't have to be faith-based. It can be secular. You cannot exclude one or the other. And you get it out of local government. Because local government, believe it or not, God, I love the people in local government. They don't even know this. Public choice theory militates that government has no incentive to solve a problem to which a bureaucracy has been assigned, because a bureaucracy has an incentive to propagate itself and get people to the 20-year pension mark. That is gospel truth. That's how it works. That's why it never gets solved when you leave it to the government. Get a smart individual like Rick Caruso, and there are many Rick Carusos, right? You give them the money. They don't get paid, by the way. I did 17 years on a commission. No pension for me. It's the only job in Southern California that didn't have pension benefits. I insisted when they set it up in Orange County, give nobody a pension on this thing. They don't accrue credits, zero. You don't want people serving for pension credits. In California, it's a nightmare. How many people have pensions? And give them $100 a day, which is a lot of money, it sounds like, except everyone I know on that commission was losing money every time they showed up because it took hours to get there, get through it, get home. And their hourly rate, I didn't bill a dime, that sort of thing. Everyone served for free or negative. Never let anybody whose job it is to solve the problem beyond the commission that's solving the problem. Never. And then buy and endow, buy and endow. That's how you solve any problem. Mary in California, 1-800-520-1234. What say you, Mary?
Hi, Hugh. This is Mary. I just wanted to add something to what you were saying about the institutions and how we need to rely on some of them, like with Rick Caruso, and I really, really appreciate people like that. But I think we're missing probably the strongest and the most influential, and that is the family. I found myself facing this issue with my sister, who was found in a woman's shelter in San Bernardino with her 2 daughters and 3 grandchildren. No place to go. They found an apartment for her, a 1-bedroom, roach-infested apartment, and I was absolutely appalled. So I saw 5, 6 people living in this tiny little apartment, and I said, come on, let's go look around for something else. And by chance, 2009, housing was very affordable in San Bernardino. I found a little 3-bedroom, 1-bath house in a finer neighborhood in San Bernardino, taking her out of the city. I bought it, and 11 years later, she's thriving in that little house.
And Mary, that is exactly what I just described. If you put people into decent housing, I'm not talking about roach-infested hotels. You buy the cheapest unit available in the geographical area, and sometimes you have to disperse. San Bernardino always gets upset because they say probation violators get dumped in San Bernardino. That's kind of in the tall weeds. But if you invest people in tiny little houses or clean community, they will thrive. Not everyone, but a lot of people, and they've thrived, right?
Yes, but I think you have to bring in the family element. The family has to be that safety net. I pay the mortgage on that little house, which is $400 a month. I bought it for $70,000. It was a deal. It's a nice neighborhood. It's a safer neighborhood. But the family, it's a safety net for 2 or 3 years. She got back to work. She had, a little bit of help, financially. I didn't give her the money, but I gave her the groceries, and I paid her utility bills. And now she's so much better. Her children have graduated from high school and college, and I tell you, she just needed help.
That is the model, and that is the model, and it is better if the family does it. 100% agree with you. There are some people for whom there is no family, but there are people who have families ready to help, but they've tried, they've gone through rehab 4 or 5 times, and that's when the Army steps in. Again, 66,000 people in L.A., 66,000 solutions. One of those solutions. What's that?
I said thank you for bringing this issue up because I think it's so important today.
Oh, it is not only this issue. If you want to solve COVID, you want to solve mental health, you want to stop crime, everything begins with unsheltered people. It's actually ground zero for a free market society is handling the people who are, for whatever reason, incapable at that time of taking care of themselves. Mary, great call. I appreciate it. God bless you. Would that more family members did exactly that. Then the government wouldn't have to step in. But sometimes there is no family, and that does not work. So again, 66,000 people in LA or 150,000 people in New York, 66,000 solutions in LA, 150,000 solutions in New York.